Finnegan here, and from award-winning country artist to one of Nashville's most thoughtful storytellers, Tenille Towns has built a career on songs that don't shy away from difficult emotions. With her new self-produced album, The Acrobat, she strips everything back, producing, mixing, and playing every instrument herself to create one of the most intimate records yet. Ahead of her return for the UK with their Living Room tour, we're lucky to be joined today by Tenille. Welcome.
Hi. Well, goodness, what an intro indeed. Thank you for having me.
A big intro for a big act. Now, obviously, you're coming back to the UK, and we're all delighted that you're coming back. But one thing I wanted to pick up first was, and actually, it seems to be a recurring thing with the UK audiences. You've called UK audiences the land of second verses, because of the audience's attention to detail of lyrics and knowing every word and being able to sing it back. What do you think it is about UK audiences that kind of makes you feel so connected to them?
I remember the very first time I came over there to play songs, I was so nervous and afraid because everyone was so quiet and like just leaned in. And then every time I've come since, it's just become one of my favorite things that they're that present. Like they're just so in the songs unlike anywhere else, and it's so special to me. So it's one of my favorite places to get to play music. I truly mean that. It's like you guys blew me away from the first time, and it's been really special coming back every time since.
It definitely seems to be a bit different to American and kind of Canadian audiences. It seems a lot more intense. The audience seems to be a bit more kind of internal, which maybe is not always good for performers. But is this kind of why you're leaning into the Living Room tour? Because obviously beyond the venues themselves, is that why you wanted to bring it a little bit more intimate, or does the Living Room kind of represent, where you are as an artist at the moment?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. I mean, the living room tour to me, I wanted to kind of bring pieces of home with me on the road and set up a place where everybody just feels safe to show up and be exactly who they are and come as they are and like feel that the way this tour is structured is very kind of stripped back to the two-way dialogue between the audience. They're very conversational, they're really personal and vulnerable, and it's kind of like just setting the stage to give all of us permission to feel whatever we need to feel. So every show so far on this tour has been a little different. It's can be request driven, and it's just kind of going off of the feeling in the room, which has been very special. And it also just pairs really well with this record that I just made, which is very acoustic, stripped back, vulnerable, and raw. So it's kind of sharing the music from the heart of that place and bringing a piece of home with me on the road. So I can't wait to get over there.
Well, talking about the Acrobat, which is obviously the name of your album, the title itself kind of implies a balancing act, which is kind of obviously how you're kind of approaching this tour, and obviously how you're approaching music. Did the title immediately kind of come out to you, or is there a reason that it's track two, so early on in the album?
No, so the title was funny. I couldn't decide what to name this album. I'd initially thought it was Acrobat, and then I went through this doubting phase. And then I played it for some friends, and they were like, "You're crazy. Just go with that. Your gut was right." And the whole project of this album was trusting my intuition again, and kind of like this represents the return to being an independent artist again. And to me, the title The Acrobat means a leap into the great unknown without a safety net, and without this infrastructure of industry the way that I got used to for a lot of years. And it's just been so incredibly encouraging feeling everybody listening out there being like these arms that are catching that new flight path. And so that to me is what the Acrobat symbolizes. And there was a song I wrote actually quite a few years ago with well, my songwriting hero, and I'm so grateful she's become a friend and a mentor, but Lori McKenna. And we wrote this song, and there's a line where she talks about the fortune teller, and I thought that would be the perfect place for Lori to start singing, because she's just kind of been this guiding force of wisdom in so many of the Nashville community songwriters' lives, and I'm just honored that she was up for singing this with me. And I think this song, thematically really symbolizes that wrestle with losing yourself a little bit and what it's like to kind of come out on the other side of that.
Well, because it's because the album itself, I mean, in this day and age, it's really hard to find, artists that kind of structure an album how it used to traditionally be. And like it seems like you've kind of taken that approach with this. It feels more of an emotional journey, an emotional story from start to finish, instead of just being individual songs. At what point did you kind of realize that it was a whole album instead of just being individual tracks? Or
Yeah, well,
maybe I've misread that, and maybe it is a collection
no,
of different.
I appreciate you noticing that. To be honest, I think the music tricked me into making this record because I was kind of in a really low spot. I was not feeling like myself, and I um, was struggling and kind of going, I don't know what to do next. And so I decided I just wanted to tune out all the noise around me and get back to the truth underneath. And what if I just made a few guitar vocals of songs I really love that I feel like all have this kind of thematic anchor to them? Like, what happens if I just strip everything else away and just make some guitar vocals and then take that to the studio? And so I got like 4 or 5 songs done, and I was like, hold on a second, what if I just made this record right here? And so I recorded all of this on one microphone sitting in the spare room at my house next to my dog.
Wow.
And it was a really healing thing for me, to be honest. That's what was my whole purpose in finishing this project, was like the completion in myself, to just be able to like find my intuition again. And so that it's become a whole new circle since sharing it, and it's like, oh wait, actually this was the whole point of it. But these songs all were ones that I'd written through the years, or a few that I'd written recently, and I just was like, they feel like something I want to talk about right now, and important to include on something more than just a song that I'm posting. And I want it to exist and to last. And so that's why I decided to make this record, and I launched it on this vinyl, which everybody blew me away with pre-orders. That was the whole reason I was able to, like, kind of fund a whole marketing plan behind this album. And everybody's support's just blown me away. It's been really encouraging.
So what would you say was the keystone of the album, which made you realize, okay, this is now a finished product?
I would say, okay, well, I think once I had done Ordinary Love Song, The Acrobat, maybe 1 or 2 other songs that I knew that I wanted to include. But once I got to Enabling, I was like, oh yeah, this is where we got to start, because that one to me felt like the right thematic. That one represents the heart of the mess of where I started,
That's
kind
that's
of
my that's my personal favorite as well
oh,
on the album.
thank you.
Yes, it's amazing.
Thank you for saying that. Oh, that one hurt a lot, but it brought a lot of healing too. And I think that song kind of made me see the vision for this record. And so I would say it's two-part. One, that song, and then the last song that I wrote for the album was We Could Use a Little More, because I feel like I kind of had done some pretty deep personal work, and I got to this part of feeling, overwhelmed by maybe the noise internally. But then I got to this perspective where I was like, I'm so overwhelmed by the noise of what's going on in the world, and like what's happening
Yeah.
out there, and and just feeling so hungry for the love that I think that we're all made of underneath everything that different headlines and agendas and crazy events in the world try to like pull us away from. And so that felt like the missing puzzle piece to me of what I wanted this album to represent. So that was the last song that I wrote for the record. And once that one found its place, I was like, okay, I think this is a whole thing now. I think I'm ready.
Because you can really tell that you've kind of crafted it. And I mean, in the past, you've kind of talked about that you've kind of wanted to move away from people pleasing and not kind of, do that anymore. And obviously, has that affected how you wrote the songs and kind of how you worked on it? Is it just about, you know, regardless of how people are going to receive it, it's more about you and your energy going into it, or do you still have that little bit where you're kind of there's a slight moment of people pleasing still in there in the mix?
Yeah, I think part of that is just in the fiber of how you're, I don't know, created. It's just like it's part of the personality, it's part of a thing, and for me it's a constant practice. It's a new practice for me. This record felt like a really big step into that awareness of what I battle with in that. So I kind of felt, I don't know, this record was a really good exercise in that for me, of just like there was no one else around to like
Yeah.
be like, do you like this? What do you think? Like, I literally was like, do I want more bass in this verse? Do I think there should be a harmony part? Yeah, I think I like that. Okay, cool. Let's just go with that. And that every kind of small decision in this process like really helped strengthen my ability to need somebody else's like thumbs up for it. I was just like, no, I like this and I want to share this like this. And that really helped, I think, strengthen that piece of me that really does struggle with making sure everybody around me is okay and happy. So yeah, still a practice, but this record definitely helped me figure a little bit more of that out.
Well, you seem to be pretty good at it because listening through the album, I almost found myself noticing the the silences as much as the lyrics, and
Oh, I love that.
was there a moment where you kind of you felt that where removing something from a song kind of felt braver than actually adding another bass line or adding another lyric? Did you really kind of contemplate those kind of moments?
Yeah, I did. And I think I also contemplated like what everything kept going, what's the truest feeling of this? And if the lyric or the part in the song just I was hungry for that. So it was like, no, I need to that's it just needs to be live. Like I need to just hold the guitar and sing it, and that's what it was. And I don't my limitations as a recording engineer I think also helps keep the vulnerability intact on this project because like I don't know how to tune a vocal or there's a lot of like things that are just over my head, and so it really kept there is some imperfections on there, and I think that's even the way you can hear some of the breath in between or
Yeah.
the quiet parts like that just is real. That was just me sitting here playing it, and I really tried to keep that intact. I think what helped me with that too was maybe the inner critic in my head at this point was so exhausted. It was just like sleeping off to the side, and that's what allowed me to maybe leave some of those moments that I think end up being really important. So I don't know, whatever cocktail or mess I was in at the time allowed me to actually get to the truth of that, which I guess I'm thankful for.
I mean, over here in the UK, country and kind of Americana and storytelling has kind of exploded over the last 5 to 10 years, and I think one of the reasons is that people are tired with plastic, fantastic kind of songs. They want that authenticity, and they want to be able to hear the human connection that you're singing from. So I think those elements that you have in the album, just even when you kind of slip away and add an extra word in just to kind of add the verse, it just elevates the music so much and kind of resonates with me and obviously the audience as well. But talking about that balancing act, was there ever the producer versus songwriter argument in your head? Was the like, well, actually, I need to get X, Y, and Z, and I need to kind of step back away from adding those elements in there? Or is that going to be something that we're going to see you going on to the future, moving more into producing and not performing as much? Would you?
Yeah. No, thank you for noticing all of this and asking about that. I didn't necessarily think of it as different parts for this record. It wasn't like a producer hat and a mixing hat and a songwriting hat and an artist hat. It was just like an expression of the song. And it was all in service to the emotion of it. And I think that's really all I was sort of thinking about.
Yeah.
So I hope that I carry that forward. I look forward to collaborating on whatever the next chapter is. I've got lots of songs I'm, writing or starting to work on. And I think that kind of carrying that plan forward with like, does this feel true? Is this right? Whether I'm thinking about it as a producer or a writer or whatever that is, that practice is, I guess, what I'm holding on to. I don't know if that answers your question entirely, but
No, I think it
um,
does. People always say that a great producer is like an extra member of the band or of the artist, and I
right.
think the fact that you have that authenticity, we want to be able to express yourself, but then
Yeah.
that's what you're trying to produce, if that makes sense. I think that you can tell it in the work that's come out. But talking about collaborations, obviously you worked with some great names on this title, and particularly like Grey Like Emmy Lou. It's such a beautiful specific title as well. Did that exist before the song, or did you kind of work backwards from that title?
The whole project of that song was magical to me, but I actually got to have tea with Emmylou Harris a few years ago.
Wow.
And I just sat with her and was asking her all these stories and, hearing her talk about her path in music. And and she was so inspiring to me. At one point, I kind of was asking her if she ever felt like she was on the outside, because she's always just blazing her own trail over here.
Hmm.
And she's a member of the Country Music Hall of Fame and all these, legendary things. But like at the time, I wondered if she ever felt like she was a little left of center. And she kind of just looked at me like, I don't know. She's like, I just trusted the music. And she said, I've kind of gotten everything I've ever, wanted or dreamed of. Like I have a dog rescue in my backyard and I make music with my friends. And that like sentence has just stuck with me. Like I'm like, that's the bar for success. I want to be able to help people and be able to celebrate a community around me doing the thing I love. So I was talking about that conversation of tea with my friends Jordan Shellhart and Kat Higgins, and Jordan had this chorus started talking about being, gray like Emmy Lou, what a compliment that would be to give somebody. And this song is actually about, a friendship ending, and it's really hard. And it's Jordan said that line, and I was like, what a beautiful way to wish someone well, to hope that they just like, go through life experiencing so many of the things they hoped for someday. And even if you're not in their life anymore, you still wish that for them, and to just be stunning and gorgeous like Emmylou Harris. And so we finished writing the song, and I immediately was thinking about I'm With Her. I've been fans of theirs for so long, and each of their independent artists' careers and then them collectively together so special. And I was like, I knew that we had a shared love for Emmylou Harris. So I just sent them the song, and they were so kind and replied right away on Instagram. And they're like, we love this. Like, send us the files and let's do this. And Sarah Jarosz and I actually, like a couple weeks later, we were both on Daniel Tashin's jam at Brown's Diner, this tiny little burger place here in Nashville that's got like a corner stage. And we played through the whole album of Wrecking Ball, and Emmylou Harris was there, and it was just like this
Wow.
special moment with Sarah. We were like, I think we're supposed to do this song, so that was really cool to get to celebrate that with them.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, the harmonies with "I'm With Her" is like amazing on that track. So how did that work recording it? Did you record it separately before that, and then kind of work together? Because I mean, it just seems so symbiotic, kind of like, and it's great.
They're so good. I'm so glad that worked through the distance. Like I kept getting their tracks one by one, and I put them
Wow.
in my like session, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is killing me. It was so beautiful. And then I put the next one in, and we send it back to like, it was just really special. So yeah, they were all wonderful, and got me their harmonies individually, and it ended up being something like I soloed all the vocals, and I was like, this is crazy. Like we still haven't sang this in one room all together.
Oh, there's something to look forward to in the future, and if we can see
Exactly.
that happen, that would be magical. The talking about the start and end of the album, it feels like you start with a promise and you kind of end with this. I don't want to. How should I phrase it? Almost like an emotional release at the end. Is that how you? Is that how? Because I've already mentioned that "Enabling" is like my favorite song on the thing, and that almost feels too big to be surrounded by the songs. There is that how you wanted to end it? Almost an ellipsis, like kind of, are we going to have a continuation of this kind of emotion that you put into this, or was that accidental?
No, not accidental. I've this the last song on the record is called "In Love with the Sky," and that's kind of a statement about how much love has been and relationship has been a struggle for me.
Hmm.
When you love the dream, and you and like, how do you hold those things at the same time? This is the balancing act. That kind of felt like the final statement that I wanted to leave on this record. There's actually also a secret final statement on the vinyl version only. That's a song called "If You're Hearing This," and so that is also a really special like departure moment for me of the album. That's just kind of like a thank you to everybody who's been pouring into this path with me. And so both of those things, yeah, I don't know. I think about each like record is just sort of like a window of a time in life, and it's like that was the scenery in that moment for me. And I don't know, I guess one window always kind of leads to the next, so I'm sure it'll
It's
feel connected. I think that I'm definitely looking forward to making some noise with some friends, and kind of turning up the production side a little bit again, and seeing where that evolution ends up bleeding me. But making records like the Acrobat will always be in the recipe for me. Like that's just how I started playing and writing songs, is picking up my guitar and playing them. The first thing that I ever put out, here in Nashville, was the living room work tapes, which was the same thing. It was just kind of me playing through these songs live, and I feel like making the Acrobat really reminded me that these sort of moments of acoustic reflection in between other records are always going to be in the equation. So I'll definitely be making more music like this soon.
Excellent. I mean, because you even with a full band or without a full band, you can kind of feel the power and energy behind the lyrics, and you kind of so it'd be interesting to see how that kind of moves forward, especially in your live performances. Now, you've been known to obviously be someone who tells the emotional truth, and with that obviously comes a cost a lot of times. Do you ever feel that you've kind of almost reveal too much, pour too much of yourself, or put too much of your emotional truth on stage, or are you still kind of holding some of that version of yourself back still?
Yeah, I mean that is kind of a fine line that I battle with, but every time I'm afraid to be vulnerable and I do it anyways, I end up feeling more connected to the world. I think like vulnerability is a two-way street, and when I see somebody, that sends a message on Instagram or comments or comes to a show and comes up to me afterwards with, teary eyes and is like, I have felt the same way, then I'm like, wait a second. That's the whole point to me of music,
Yeah.
is like to
Hmm.
help us feel a little less alone. So in the moments where I'm terrified to press post or I'm terrified to put the song out because it's personal, that's what I remind myself of, is how beautiful it is to feel less alone in those feelings. And that's what kind of gives me the courage, honestly, to keep doing that, because it's really scary every time.
I mean, that's what's beautiful about music, isn't it? Is obviously
Yeah.
there's millions of people out there who are feeling all these emotions but don't have the skill and delivery that you have, which is magnificent, obviously. But then they can connect with you because you articulate their pain and their anguish so well, and it's great that you can connect with people. But when you have a song that is really kind of touched to an emotional memory of your song, does it become easier to perform that live, or do you still struggle each time have that internal?
Yeah, no, that doesn't get easier. it's it's kind of it's real every time. I think there is like a balance for me personally, and at least in my writing, where I feel like I've kind of gone from both sides of this coin, but like I really love to be the observer storyteller, like writing songs in the third perspective, like Jersey on the Wall or Somebody's Daughter, or some of those early songs that I put out, which are very like I'm witnessing something and I'm
Hmm.
processing how I feel about it from a distance. And so I've kind of been trying to learn to get better at closing that distance a little bit, and that's just kind of, I think, art and time, and I don't know, wherever I've just sort of like figured more out about myself. But then there's also that part where you kind of get lost in that too, and it's like I want to always kind of balance between how much am I just talking about myself and my own feelings, and how much am I like looking at the world around me and like
Yeah.
trying to thread that needle. So that's always kind of something that I'm figuring out.
Have you ever started off as writing a song as an observer and then realizing that you're writing about yourself? Has that ever come across?
Yeah, in fact, the song "The Acrobat" was that.
Hey.
Yeah, Lori and I were writing this about this character, and in my mind, I could, she was this acrobat in the circus, and I love all the like visuals of that, you know, kind of whimsical life, and I wrote this about her from a distance because it was easier to process how I actually feel in my own body about that sometimes. And we finished the song, and I was like, yeah, dang, okay. It's probably it helped me. I don't know if I could have sat down and wrote it saying this is how I'm feeling right now, I want to write about it. It really helped to like think about her as a character and then be like, I've been writing about my own struggles this whole time. So that really helped a lot.
It's definitely a form of therapy in its own set as well. Obviously, you've played around the world with some great people. You recently returned to the Grand Ole Opry on stage following the album's release. After everything you've achieved, does stepping on that circle still have carry the same weight?
Oh yeah, it's the most nervous I ever get to sing for sure. There's just such a sacred feeling of history in that room. Like you step in that circle that so many people before that have laid the foundations of music that we get to keep building on have stood, and you're like, okay, this is real. And there's also this kind of like, I don't know, you can kind of feel the angels of country music in that place. Like there's something spiritual about the way that all feels in that room, that's kind of tangible. So it's special to me every single time I get to do that. It's such an honor to take that stage.
I mean, for music fans, it's a massive pilgrimage to even be in the same room as that. So to be on stage must be,
Crazy.
yeah, another step in itself. But
Yeah.
okay, so looking forward, you talked about being at a crossroads and stuff, and where you were, and who you're becoming. At the moment with this album, do you feel like you're still on that journey, or are you somewhere in the middle, or do you feel like you're finally becoming comfortable with who you are and how you express yourself?
Yeah, I think there was definitely this feeling of growth or like a circle completing itself with this. But I don't think that means the growing is done by any means. I think that's a continual evolution of life, of figuring out who we are and what we're doing here, and what matters at the end of the day when we fall asleep at night. Like what is it really that brings us joy and purpose? And I don't know, that's something I think if we had that figured out, we wouldn't really be here. Like that's the evolution of it all. So there'll be plenty more to write songs about and struggle through in the future. I'm not worried, but I do feel like this record was an exhale to just kind of be like, okay, that was really hard. These past couple years had some tough things, and I do feel like this record helped me kind of like realize that, I don't know, it's not like baggage that has to weigh you down. It's just part of your story that you get to keep carrying with you and carrying on. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, personally myself, and I'm not just saying this, it's just listening to the album for the first time and then kind of going back for the second listen. I feel like I might approach different conversations with friends and family slightly differently after kind of listening
Come
to
on.
that.
That
So
makes that makes me want to cry. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
no,
That's like, oh, that's the point of it all right there.
and obviously with the audiences when you're over here in the UK, is that what you want people to kind of leave carrying home with them, or is there
Absolutely.
something in particular that you kind of want them to have?
The mission for me is always for us to feel a little less alone in what we feel, and to know that we're not, yeah, the only ones going through something like that. And just, I think music's greatest gift is that ability for us to kind of feel connected to complete strangers in a room. And that's why live music is important to me, is when you're standing next to somebody who's maybe feeling something similar to what you have. Like everybody in the room at a show to me, a song's got really personal memories that'll bring up, or everyone has a different movie in their head that's playing of like, oh yeah, this is the character, this is this person that I've struggled with this with, or this is who I'm thinking about, but the feeling is the same, and it like runs through all of us, and that's just so beautiful to me. That's my favorite part of live music, is to think about that. So but yeah, the mission is always to just hopefully somebody walks out with a little more hope in their tank and feeling a little less alone.
And I mean, and that's why people resonate and connect with the music so much. But with that, obviously, comes a certain amount of weight. And do you feel almost like not responsible, but do you feel there's a tiny part of you that has to be aware of how that music is going to connect with people? Do responsible for people's emotions, or do you kind of separate that and say, here is the music, and hopefully you connect with it, and then kind of walk away?
Yeah, I've definitely struggled with that in the past, especially in the people pleaser lane of just being like, is this doing what it's supposed to do? Like, am I
Yeah.
stewarding this song well? And like, how can I best connect? And the pressure of that is had gotten to a point, it's in certain spots in my life where it's just like unbearable, and that's not, it just vacuums all the joy out of the experience to think about it that way. So I've had to really practice walking into a space and thinking about, I don't know, I think an artist's job is really just to hold open the door, and whatever that person is meant to experience or feel or heal, like that's all our own journeys. And so I just hope that these songs can be a part of that in some way. And I just think I just try to envision what it's like to open those doors and just let the rest happen. And that's like a bit of a spiritual kind of surrender for me that I'm still really learning how to do.
Um, that's I think that's the only way forward you can move forward as well, because otherwise it
Yeah.
becomes too much of a too much. You curate stuff too much and think about it too much. I think there's a Janet Devlin, the artist. She said, if you think about the lyrics too much, you'll forget every lyric, which is which is an amazing thing. Now, I just want to move on to finally. Obviously, if somebody kind of discovered the Acrobat, say 30 years from now, and they knew nothing of the awards, the tours, the career, is what's the one thing that you would want them to know about yourself? Is it just, is the Acrobat a perfect description of you at this moment, or is, what's the one thing you'd want them to know about who created this?
Wow, I've never been asked that. That's a big question. I guess I would just want them to know that, hmm,
Well,
maybe to just hear the work in progress, to know that nothing is ever all the way figured out, and that, yeah, this is definitely a window into my life where I felt like I disappeared and lost a lot of myself into other people, and I hope that they hear someone who's somehow finding the courage enough to get it back.
well,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't realize how many people actually need to hear that as well. So I think that's a beautiful message to convey in this. Now, again, I think I've expressed that I love the album, and I can't wait to see you, back in the UK and hear these songs in those intimate settings and kind of which they were clearly made for. To,
Oh, thank you.
know it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and
It's been such a joy to talk to you. Thank you for just diving into this the heart of this record and like really, I don't know, I feel like connecting and capturing what that honestly is. So I appreciate you caring so much, and I really can't wait to see you at the show. And thank you for shining a light on this record. It really means a lot.
no, excellent. I want to hear those. I want to hear those songs, and especially enabling it like, firsthand.
Okay,
So
I got you.
you'll
I
see
will
me. You'll see me
definitely
at one of
play.
them or many of them. So
You're amazing. Well, thank you so much. What a joy to talk to you today. You made my day.
no, thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Tenille. See you
Thank you.
soon.
And we'll see you around.
Bye.
Bye.